Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome into another edition of GC Live. I'm your host, returning from my trip last week where we did not go live for GC Live Baseball Talk. I'm Jack Veltri, joined as always by my co-host, partner in crime, and good friend here, Ethan Carter, and 2010 College World Series champion, I might add to that. Ethan, it's been a little bit since we've done a little show here, but how we doing, buddy?
Good, man. I wish it rain a little bit here in Virginia. We're in a huge drought right now, but other than that, man, there's no complaining. We got some good Gamecock baseball to talk about.
Dude, real quick before we get going on the talk about baseball, what's the temperature out there in Virginia right now? It's like I was walking outside today. It's like almost 90 degrees. It's gonna be in the 90s tomorrow. Like I'm gonna go in the pool before heading over to the ballpark tonight, man. Like it is. It's feeling like June out here, man. Like it's feeling like season weather.
It's 80 here. It's going to be 85 tomorrow. It keeps, it's very Virginia like. Last week we were in like the low 70s, high 60s. This week it's been mid to upper 80s all week, and then next week we're going to be back down to the low 70s. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't rained here, and I think I was watching the weather last night. I think it's we're coming up on 2-3 weeks that we've gone without rain here in the Roanoke Valley. So hopefully we got some water on the horizon. But yeah, man, it's been nice. Like I played my men's league baseball, first game of the year on Sunday. So happy not to have any weather there.
Yeah. Everything all good with the arm? Any injuries already? How you looking so far out there?
We're hanging. We threw 4 innings, and we're still nursing it back. So I'm throwing, what is it? College guys are every 6 to 7 days. Big leaguers every 5 days. I'm every 14 days. So I'll be throwing again next Sunday. So But no, it's fun to get out there with some guys that still want to, hang on a little bit longer. It's been a blast. So, always a good time.
Yeah. Well, the good news is I don't think the Gamecocks are going to be needing you back on the mound anytime this season. We've got a lot to talk about what's been going on with the baseball program. Things have changed a lot since the last time we spoke. We spoke 2 weeks ago, maybe. We were previewing, what series was it? Texas. We were previewing the Texas series. And obviously, we've talked about before a few times now since it's happened about a week ago. I was out of town proposing to my now fiance Caroline. So that was yes. We'll talk about it just for a second here. It was very exciting. We had GC Live yesterday. We talked about it for probably 20 minutes. So I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna bore you guys anymore too much with the details. But dude, it was great. It's crazy. I mean, like you've been through it. I mean, it's just kind of a lot. It's surreal that it's like, man, this is a huge step. It's crazy.
No, man, that's awesome. No, my wife and I will be celebrating our 8th year anniversary in November. So yeah, I know where you've been, man. And I behind the scenes, I had a little inclination beforehand. Kind of knew what day it was going to happen, anyways. And so I'm sending Jack a text at like 2 p.m. I'm like, we got an update. He sent me the time and everything.
Nervous.
So no, very, very happy for my guy Jack, and wish you Caroline the best. Y'all gonna have a great time, man. It's a blast.
And the good news is, look, as much as the joke is out there that I wasn't covering any of the games last week, and South Carolina plays good baseball. At the same time, my counter argument is that South Carolina's 4-0 since I got engaged. So
there we go.
Look, there we go. But the boys are playing better since old Jack Veltri got engaged. But yeah, that's where we're going to really pick up the conversation now is, man, I feel like we were joking about before the show. It feels like this is the first time in like a while since you and I started doing the show together that we've got a baseball team to talk about that's been playing good ball. South Carolina's won the last 4 games. 4-game winning streak. They're back to 500 now on the year. A huge homestand right now with you beat Davidson the other day. You got Mississippi State this weekend, and you get Kentucky next weekend. I mean, dude, this is for all intents and purposes, this feels like the time, if there's ever a time to turn this season around, this the stretch here, and hence why the title of this stream is Huge Weekend for Gamecock Baseball.
Yeah, no, it's whenever you can get a sweep on the road and it can kind of change everything. We'll get more into this when we start breaking down the weekend matchups, but Mississippi State's lost 6 straight conference games. We've won 4 out of our last 6 now, and things can really change. We can be ahead of Mississippi State in the conference standings by the end of this weekend. That is in the cards.
More teams like that in general too. Like they could easily, if they were to go out there and sweep, so they would be. And we'll give our predictions kind of towards the end of everything here. But I mean, dude, they're 5 wins right now. They could get to 8 and 10 by the end of the weekend at best. Let's count it up. There are 3 teams right now with 8 wins in conference play. And then there's Mississippi State, Kentucky, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt, all at 7 and 8. And then there's LSU at 6 and 9. So the gap is really not that crazy. And honestly, I don't even think it matters leapfrogging teams necessarily, because it's not like at that point all you're worrying about is SEC tournament standing.
Yes.
What I think it means more is how many conference wins can you get to by the end of the year? Because then you're starting to think of like, if you're in the double digits, you're starting to maybe get the conversation going on making the postseason potentially. Like you get to somewhere in the ballpark of, you got to get to 13 wins at least. But if you get to 13, 14, 15 conference wins, I know they've got some real bad losses on the schedule, but if they get to about, almost 500 in conference play, they're going to have some great quality wins on their resume. And shoot, they may be able to get a few series wins on their resume if that's the case.
Yep.
So, we'll talk about the hypotheticals a little bit. 12 and 6 in the final 18 games. So they've got 3 more non-conference games in midweek games. So they get Presbyterian next week, Citadel, and then Winthrop to close out the midweek slate. And then in between that, you still have let's see, how many games is it?
You've got 5 weekend series left.
So it's 15 games left in conference play. So you have 15 games left.
You've got to win 3 of the 5. And one of those has to be a sweep.
And I think the next 2 here are going to be your best chance.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, when you really look at the schedule, I mentioned just all those teams that are 8, 7 wins in conference play. All those teams are who South Carolina's playing. Like,
exactly.
You're going to be traveling to Vanderbilt and LSU. Both of those teams seem very beatable right now. And then you've got Mississippi State and Kentucky and Alabama at home. It is very doable at this point, I think, to go out here with the way South Carolina's been playing, specifically with the pitching. I think they give themselves a chance in just about all those series, but they're going to have to go out here and do it. And I don't think it's the end of the world if you went out here and lost this series this weekend. It would definitely put a damper on what you've been building. But I don't think hope is lost necessarily. Like go out here and win this series, obviously, and you give yourself a great chance moving forward. But, the season's not over by any means. I mean, they have definitely put themselves in a little bit of a chance here to really rectify things and give themselves a chance to get back in the hunt.
You have hope, and that's just something this team hasn't had in a year and a half. Whether it be the coaching with Maneri, or it's just kind of the lackluster play. Just this team hasn't had a lot to hope for, look forward to. As far as just coming to the ballpark. And outside of the early games this year, the last meaningful game they've played, like with something on the line in conference play, was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, totally. It was those 2 weekends where they got swept at the end of SEC play against Georgia and Tennessee. Because I think everyone forgets at the time, for that team making the postseason, they were very much in contention to get a national seed once again. So, and they blew that with getting swept the final 2 weekends. So that's really the last time, like almost 2 years ago to the day, that South Carolina has something to play for. And the record may not indicate it. They're 19-19 right now, but they could very well, over these final, 18 games, they really could start to rectify, their season to a degree.
And they have an identity now. I think that's the other thing. And Monty talked about it a little bit in his media the last day or two. I saw some quotes anyways. But this team kind of knows what they are, and they know that they're they figured out the starting rotation. They know we've got Brandon Stone and Ant Phillips that are, knock on wood, going to go out there and give you 5 to 6 innings. You can pencil in 5 to 6 innings from those guys. And they're gonna give you strong outings. And then you've figured out enough with the bullpen to kind of piece together that little bit. Phil Potts starting to look like the guy we thought he might be. Obviously Valentin, Prisco, just the bullpen itself is, this team knows that they've got the goods on the mound right now. And when you go out there and then you finally have some consistency with a lineup with guys that are gonna go out there and they know they're penciled in and they're not going to the lineup card. And I can speak to this a little bit. Obviously the lineup card is a little bit different for bullpen guys than it is position players, but these guys aren't going to the lineup card now like, gosh, am I going to be in today? Am I hitting first or I'm hitting ninth? There's a little bit more just like, okay, all right, check line. Yep, we're good. All right, go on with my business now. It's not this read and react situation, with bullpen guys. At least back when we did it, we used to have a long, middle, and short, and your name was penciled in, whether you were long relief, short relief, middle relief, short relief, and that would determine when you go out to the bullpen. So some days your name was written on long and you were out in the bullpen in like the second inning. Like that's just what it was. And then other days, middle and short. And there's a certain ease when you're like penciled into your role and you go out there, you don't worry about anything else. And I think you're starting to see that with some of these guys. Patrick Evans, he's penciled into one of the top 2 spots in the lineup. Him and Tyler Bott, those 2 guys are your top 2 hitters right now in the lineup. And they know that. They're like, okay, we're going out there and we know we're setting the table. Patrick Evans hits big home runs, last few games. But, these guys know that they're starting this thing. And then, like I said, I think it's a trickle-down effect that these guys understand their roles. They understand the type of team they are. And they can go out there and play for each other. And the energy is different. If you would have asked me a month ago if we would be talking about this team in any kind of real positive light other than, hey, they're playing okay, I would have told you you're crazy. But these guys have really put in the work and the effort, and they've come together, and we're looking forward to weekend series again. And it's just fun. And I hope Founders Park is on and popping this weekend. These guys have played well enough that this should be a tough environment for Mississippi State to come in tonight. I hope that's the case.
100%. I agree with you. The only thing that I think, so many things have been good about this team. Like, we got to talk about the good first. The pitching staff, it has definitely, I know a lot of people do not like Terry Rooney. I think Terry's a nice guy, and I've enjoyed getting to, when I get to chat with him, he's very nice. But yeah, I mean, the pitching staff, you can't help but notice they have been so much better this year. Like their overall ERA, like in SEC play, is 5.02, which may not sound great, but that's 7th best in the conference. And when you go back to last year, that SEC ERA was like about 3 or 4 runs higher. So we're talking about South Carolina really giving this team a chance every single weekend, knowing you're going to get quality starts on the mound from Brandon Stone. Ant Phillips. For a time, it was Josh Gunther as well. He's kind of fallen off a cliff. And you have the bullpen, which I think is really the strength of the team right now, is you can count on. I could probably rattle off 5 or 6 guys right now.
Yeah,
like Alex Valentine, Zach Russell. I know Parker Marlot's numbers aren't great, but he gives you a chance when you need him. Cooper Parks, like they've got guys in this bullpen. Connor Chicoli, like they have arms in this bullpen that are weapons for this team. And I see the comment here from, this is my next point here. Adam Ritter says, defense worries me, too many errors. I disagree. You look at the fielding percentage. South Carolina has the 4th best defense in SEC, or sorry, 5th best defense in SEC play. You have to remember that there is a fundamental, and no pun intended here, difference with the defense before Pulmonary was let go versus the defense afterwards. In 15 SEC games, South Carolina has only committed 11 errors, and they are fielding at a 979 clip. Before all that, I mean, shoot, this team was approaching, they've gotten over to 40 errors on the year. They're at 43 errors, like they're 14th overall in the conference when you look at just every game in general. But you have to take that all with a grain of salt because that was before everything changed. Because, I mean, they were just such a bad fundamentals team that I think they've just kind of gotten themselves back to just being so much better defensively. Like, it's not like you have to worry about every game now, and hopefully this is the case this weekend. You don't have to worry about the defense being a major red flag. I think they've definitely held their own. Sure, they've been perfect? No. They've definitely hurt themselves at times, but it's not like the defense is like this automatic big issue every single game. Like, I don't like the defense has definitely been a lot better since Monty took over. The offense, though, I think is definitely the one thing you have to hope it's going to get better. You're hitting 200 right now in conference play. That's not going to get done. Offensively, power-wise, yeah, you're definitely in the middle of the pack when it comes to home runs in the SEC. You've hit 20 home runs in 15 conference games. That is not on the high end, but there's a lot of teams with 20s. So you're right. You're right in the mix there from a power standpoint. It's just you're pitching well enough. Your defense is, for the most part, doing well enough. But can your offense figure it out? And I think that's the main thing this weekend is you got to go out there and score some runs. And we've seen it. We saw it 2 weeks ago when they faced Ruger Riojas from Texas, the Friday night starter that was pitching on Thursday for the Longhorns. They went out there and did something that no other team has done this year, knock him out of a game early and score 6 runs on him. You're going to have to do that this weekend against some of the arms that you're facing with Mississippi State. This is a high strikeout team on that pitching staff that Mississippi State has. We'll get to the Bulldogs here and what they are all about later on in the show. But it does feel like the offense really is the one thing. If they can just find some consistency, you will give yourself a chance to win and potentially sweep most series.
Yeah, and to go back to the defense, I think some of these errors are just in bad spots. I mean, KJ Scobie threw away a win. That's I know that's one that just kind of sticks in people's heads. That there was a win on the board and it got thrown away. And with the pitch and with the conference ERA, let's see, I'm counting right now. 35 runs in 14 innings in the last 2 games Paul Maneri coached in conference play. So I just think that this team's just it's not the same team as it was early in conference play, early in the season. I think there's been some notable changes on where some guys play. And I think you've definitely seen the defense get better with those changes. I think that, you've definitely seen a change in the offensive philosophy a little bit. Like I said, the batting average isn't anything to write home about, but you do see a concerted effort to try to slug more than this team has done in the last year and a half. And it's going to lead to some ugly final numbers. But just kind of looking back at some of these games, so many more crooked number innings. Just so like 2 runs, 4 runs. Just so many more of these bigger innings that are really the backbreakers that that can swing some of these conference series. So yeah, I think like I said, I think that the offense can just be serviceable. They've got a real chance. Like I said, I think they've really made some changes with where some guys are playing and who guys are, what guys are in the lineup that have kind of steadied the ship when it comes to the defense out there. I think you're really strong in center. I think you've gotten stronger on the left side. And I think your corner outfield play has gotten a little bit better with some of the changes. So, they're going to have, like I said, this isn't, to, erase what's happened the rest of the year. They're going to have to keep it going. They're going to have to keep doing it. But I think there's definitely positives to come from all this.
What, in your opinion, I really didn't, in truth, I really did not get a chance to watch the Missouri series. Like I was walking back from the beach and I saw it saw the Thursday game or whatever it was on ESPNU on a TV at the bar, walking by a restaurant. I'm like, oh, well, I'm not watching this weekend. I really did not get a chance to watch. I saw the box scores. South Carolina never trailed in the series, by the way, against Missouri.
Nope.
I think that was impressive. Obviously, the pitching was fantastic. What to you was just the most impressive part about why South Carolina has been playing better, but also just why they were able to go into Missouri? And again, it's Missouri. I know, but not every team has swept them this year. I think A&M's the other team that has, and Kentucky lost a series to these guys. So, I mean, it's not like Missouri is some slouch, even though they're the worst team in the SEC standings wise.
I mean, it's hard. Any conversation that you're going to talk about with this, especially this past weekend, it's got to start with Brandon Stone and Ant Phillips. And Ant Phillips, he kind of gets lost in the shuffle because we had that epic Josh Gunther game against Florida, and then we've had a couple heroic Brandon Stone performances. And Ant Phillips goes out there and posts every week. It is, I mean, he has been, I'm just kind of glancing at the numbers now. 9 starts, a 2.17 ERA, all 50, 49 2/3, 33 hits, 56 strikeouts. Like, I mean, he goes out there and he posts, man. And I mean, not even looking at his conference numbers. I'm sure his conference numbers are a little bit better
in conference play. His win-loss totals are not great. That's because, again, the offense has not really supported him tremendously. He has like a 1.5 ERA since the start of SEC play. It's ridiculous what this guy's doing. He's definitely one of the best pitchers in this conference right now. He's going again. I think there's no doubt at this point he's going to be he's going to definitely help his draft stock this season by going out there and pitching the way he has. And he's not even your ace on staff. He definitely is in terms of like who's the best pitcher on the team, but you're not running him out there in game 1. And I kind of like that you have him there in the middle game in case things do go wrong in game 1. Okay, you're going to get a pretty quality start from him in game 2 and have a chance to either win the series or even it up at a game apiece.
Yeah, and I just, like I said, I wanted to make sure I shot him because again, on Saturday, he ran out there in 8 innings, 5 hits, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, in a game where you needed it. The offense got 3 hits, and it was a game you really needed him to step up and do that. And yeah, man, it's been real fun watching him develop this year and coming to his own. A couple, maybe a rocky start here, the first couple, the 1 or 2 games early, but I mean, man, he's fun to watch. He goes out there and he competes. But when it comes to the offense, I just think that kind of solidifying that top of the order. I think Patrick Evans and Tyler Bach either in the 1 or 2 spot, however coaches wants to do it. I think he's kind of settled in on Patrick leading off and Bach hitting second. Those guys have gotten on base. Saturday aside, Saturday was a pitching duel. But I mean, even on Saturday, those guys got 2 of the 3 hits. And Tyler Bach scored the winning run. I think kind of having a solidified top of the order has really done wonders, because, a lot of this time, especially early in the season, it was out 1, out 2. We were doing a lot of 2-out scoring early in the season. And that's good. You want some of that, but you don't want it to be your only source of offense. So those guys kind of getting on. Saw KJ Scobie break out of a little bit of a funk here, this past couple games. I think that really helped. But yeah, I mean, when it goes back to this weekend, it just, goes back to the pitching. Those guys are doing everything they can and giving the offense opportunities to come up with the big hit when they need it. And it's just been, as a pitching guy, it's been fun to watch. Like I said, Amp and Brandon, in particular. And then the bullpen guys, they have been, Chicoli came in for 2 and got and then Phil Pott got the last out on Saturday. Valentin, when he's throwing strikes, is really fun to watch. I think that's his biggest thing right now is, and honestly, that is, I will back it up real quick. That was a nice thing to see on Thursday. Monty saw he did not have it. And where I feel like Maneri would have kind of hemmed and hawed and let him try to work through it, they pulled the trigger on it. They saw Alexson have it. They got him out of there. He came back and he pitched, later in the weekend. But they didn't wait around for something bad to happen to be like, all right, well, time to get him out of there now. That was proactive coaching instead of reactive coaching. Mm-hmm. And I think it really saved them. They still won pretty comfortably on Friday. I mean, or Thursday. 5-1, but that could have gotten out of hand because Alex clearly didn't have it. He wasn't throwing strikes. That was a rowdy Columbia, Missouri crowd. Those boys had been having a lot of fun for the previous 4 or 5 hours. I saw a lot of shirts off. I saw a lot of just rambunctious 18 to 22 year olds. But yeah, like I said, that was just a proactive coach instead of reactive. And I thought that really had a chance to be another one of these games where it just, gosh, how do we lose that game? And they didn't allow it to happen. And I just, like I said, good shout out to the coaching, shout out to the players. Just, everybody, like I said, it's cohesive this time. It doesn't feel like a segmented team anymore. It feels like they're all working together.
And they've also got a few guys. I'll kind of add on to your points there. Will Craddock's been swinging the bat a little bit better. He's got 2 homers in his last 2 games. He led off the Davidson game with a home run, and then on a hanging 0-2 pitch, and then on Saturday, I didn't see it live, but I saw the clip afterwards. He demolished, I think it was like a 440-foot home run in the series finale against Missouri. He's been swinging the bat better, and I think he's someone that he's been hitting leadoff lately. You mentioned Evans. I think I like Evans probably in that leadoff or 2 hole, and then Craddock somewhere around there maybe, especially with the way he's been setting the tone lately. He's got 3 leadoff home runs this year, which is insane to see. And then quietly swinging the bat better lately. A guy that really we have not talked about enough. And honestly, man, and I'll also add Dawson Harmon to this mix as well because he's back in the lineup and swinging the bat better. He had the 2-homer game on Saturday at Missouri. But I'll tell you what, him and Ethan Lozama, if Lozama can finally put it together, it's remarkable that a guy that hit 15 homers last year has not hit a home run yet this year. It feels like he's
it's crazy.
But he is 5 for his last 11 at the plate. He had a 2-hit day at Missouri on Saturday, and then he had another 2-hit game against Davidson. If he is able to just get it going, I don't know where he's going to hit, especially with 2 left-handers on the mound this weekend for Mississippi State. But I really like the way that Ethan's been swinging the bat lately, and then you get a guy like Dawson going. I mean, now that he's healthy, I think everything's kind of just clicking at the right time. And here's the question I wanted to bring up at some point. EXO says, do we think the team needs more time to improve with the new coaching? I don't think so. Not improve, but I think they're finally ready to take that next step. Like they went on the road and not just won a series, they swept the series. I don't care who it's against. That is extremely tough to do in college baseball these days. You don't see teams go on the road and sweep series as often. What we saw this weekend, it hasn't happened for South Carolina since 2023, I believe, going on the road and sweeping a series. That does not happen. So I think the point is, I think everything's kind of come together to where it's like the last thing here is if the offense can just put it together for a full weekend. And at that point, if you do that, your pitching's good enough. Your defense has been so much better, despite what some of these comments here say about definitely one of the worst fielding teams in the SEC. The numbers tell you otherwise right now, especially in conference play, since they're the 5th best defensive team out there since the start of league play. I think they've got a chance here to really just take that next step now, block out all the noise. It's kind of just been this progressive step-by-step thing of, okay, Maneri was let go. That was step 1. Step 2 was getting more energy in the dugout. They've got that. Step 3, pitching better. They've done that. Step 4, field better. For the most part, they've done that. The next step now, I think, it feels like the final step here, and also to mention they got back to 500 overall in the year. So getting out of that under 500 losing record hole. Now the next step is, can you just have a decent enough offense to go out there and win you some ball games? That's the next step, in my opinion. Yeah. That's going to be really on display this weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is, like you said, can the offense just give the pitching enough breathing room? Because, they've gone out there and improved it. And, again, we won't get too much into the postseason stuff till we get a little bit later in the season. But this is a team that's kind of scary in a tournament setting because the pitching's been so good. And it's pretty deep. It's not, relying on, the starter situation, we'll get into it when we break down, when we do our predictions, but the, fan favorite TBA starting again on Sunday. So, it's not like we can pencil in a third starter every weekend, but I mean, for the most part, you go about 9 deep on the staff. And multiple guys can give you multiple innings. So it's a scary team to face in a tournament scenario if this offense can get it going. Especially in the SEC tournament where, it is guys that are like 7-8 on the depth chart are getting innings. I think this team's 7-8 guy matches up pretty well against other teams.
I agree.
So yeah, like I said, the offense can just kind of find, like I said, and if their thing's going to be slugging it, if they can slug it a little more consistently, then yeah, I think, again, there's a guy with 15 home runs last year that has none so far this year. If he can get on a little bit of a heater down the stretch and hit 6-7 home runs, I feel good about this team winning a few series. Because it's not the pitching. It's not, I'm just kind of scrolling back. I mean, they lost to Texas 3-5, 1-4. They lost to Georgia 1-3, 2-5. It's not lost to Arkansas 2-3. It's if the offense can get it going, man, this team can be a thorn in their side, and they can, and because of the record they can play. I think this is the quote I saw from Monty. The team can use their record to their advantage. Teams are going to come in thinking, all right, Gamecocks are down again, and these guys are kind of finding their stride. If they can catch some of these teams off guard, you really can go on a run here, and again, there's nothing like having something to play for. The energy's so different when you have something to play for. Just showing up to the field every day. It's and I'm sure you feel that as somebody covering the team.
Yeah. So I don't know how to kind of reiterate a point you made earlier that I thought was rather interesting. Again, a month ago, I did not think this team was doing squat. After losing 22-6 to Arkansas in that last game of Maneri, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a brutal next 2.5 months. Like, I genuinely don't know how we'd be sitting here today talking about this team if Paul Maneri was still the head coach. I just don't see a way in which they're playing the type of baseball they are right now. But remarkably, ever since the change happened, they've played such more competitive baseball to a point where, now they are really putting themselves in a position to, like, I kind of agree with this point here. Like, if they win this series this weekend against Mississippi State, even if they don't, as long as they don't get swept, I think even if you drop the series, it's like still you are at 6 wins, or at most you're at 8 in conference play. And you really just need to get to somewhere about the 13, 14, maybe 15 win mark in conference play to really give yourself a chance. So, but yeah, it's just a different vibe right now. And it's good to see that this team has some fight in them. And it took moving on from what was an obvious problem to really unlock the potential that this team has had all this time.
Yeah, like I said, they're having fun. You can tell those guys are excited about being at the ballpark every day. And yeah, man, there's nothing like it when you're excited to go, compete with your guys. There are few feelings better than showing up to an SEC ballpark and you've got. I mean, when I was playing, it was 27. It seems like everybody travels these days. But when you show up to the ballpark with 26 other dudes and we've got a chance to win today, and we're going to go into these stadiums and all these people, and we've got a real chance to do something special today. There's nothing like it, and this team's feeling that, in that we can have a turnaround that nobody saw coming. And those guys, I without any inside knowledge of talking to these guys, that's something that I feel like these guys are feeling right now. And just see them, the body language. It is a remarkably different shift in energy, and it's fun to watch. It is a blast to see these guys enjoy playing baseball again.
Agreed. We're going to get into the Mississippi State series now, but real quick before we get going on that, I got to talk to you guys quick about a few sponsors. Our presenting show sponsor right above us here, Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you're in the market to buy a home, need help with your mortgage, any of those housing needs, give a call to our guy, Clint, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597, or go to clinthammond.com for more info. He is the guy to get in touch with if you need any help. He's been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now, lifelong Gamecock fan, and also longtime supporter of Gamecock Central. So you're in the right hands with a guy like Clint. So all info for him will be above us right here. And then also got to talk to you guys about myperfectfranchise.net. Andy Ludicky. We're thrilled to have our friend Andy sponsoring our baseball coverage this spring. He's a big baseball fan, and from his line of work, he has seen firsthand the fantastic traits that baseball players bring to the franchise world. If you are sick of your job, ready to leave the corporate rat race, want to diversify, build wealth, and or leave a legacy, have a job and want a side hustle, Andy can help you out. He's a franchise consultant as well as a franchise owner, and he helps people find franchises that fit their skill sets, passions, and financial requirements. His services are 100% free, and he's here to help if you have any questions about business ownership. Head on over to myperfectfranchise.net to learn more, or you can text or call Andy at 404-973-9901. Again, the number to call or text Andy is 404-973-9901. Okay, so we've talked enough about how much better this team's been playing. Now it's really going to be put to the test these next 2 weeks, and it's going to be a real challenge, but I think it's one that South Carolina is ready for. Gamecocks are hosting Mississippi State this weekend for a 3-game series. Tonight, first pitch is at 7 p.m. Tomorrow is at 1 p.m. And then on Sunday, the series finale is at 1:30 p.m. Looking at the pitching matchups, it is going to be on the mound. Obviously, we've talked about him plenty here. Brandon Stone going tonight against Tomas Valinkis. We've got to talk plenty about this guy because he is a force to be reckoned with on the mound. Saturday is going to be Ant Phillips against Duke Stone. And then Sunday, good old reliable TBA going up against Charlie Foster. I'll tell you what, man, looking at the numbers, Duke Stone, 5-1 on the year, 4.5 ERA, not bad. 58 strikeouts, 15 walks. He's a strike thrower. Charlie Foster going on Sunday. He is 0-2 on the year, 5.55 ERA. It's Tomas Valinkis that is just been – he's very similar to Ruger Riojas in a lot of ways. If you look at his numbers and it's like, damn, dude, this guy is really freaking good. How are you going to hit him? He's a sophomore left-hander. Followed Brian O'Connor from Virginia. He's 6-1 on the year, 1.53 ERA in 53 innings, 72 strikeouts, and 12 walks. And that's a common theme with this team is that the Bulldogs are really good at striking out guys, and they don't walk a ton of batters. Well, they've walked 58 this year, which is a little high when you look at the rest of the SEC in conference play. But nevertheless, they are second best in terms of pitching. And it really starts with this guy on the mound. We saw the formula for how to beat a really good starting pitcher 2 weeks ago when they got to Riojas early in the count. They swung at a lot of early pitches. I know everyone loves to work the count and whatnot, but I think tonight against a strike thrower, and honestly all weekend really, with a guy that does not walk many batters, you can't go up to the plate looking for walks. You really have to swing early in the count and score first and strike early.
Yeah, no, I to your point, I think, they're going to probably have a pretty similar game plan to what they had against Texas. Monty's one of the best, they're going to have so much film. I know since that Davidson game ended on Tuesday, they've probably been watching every start that Valinkis has thrown. The formula against Texas on that Friday was look for breaking balls in the zone. They were, to your point, they were looking early for those breaking balls in the zone, and they were punishing them. And for, like you said, a strike thrower like this, it could very well be a very similar game plan. And, on the other end, they're going to know that too. Brian O'Connor's, been doing this a long time and is one of the best, coaches in the game. So he knows kind of what led to a kind of thrashing that South Carolina did on that Friday against Texas against, I'd say it's between him and Valinkis as probably your SEC pitchers of the year right now. It's kind of a two-man race with those guys. Or at least on Friday nights, that award can get a little wonky, but it's going to be a nice little chess match to see where Valinkis takes the outing. But I think that they're going to have a good game plan. They've come in these last couple Fridays with good game plans for the starting pitchers. And some of that is, you have the most time to prepare with video and scouting reports and those kind of things. So the guys are going to have a good idea of the plan of attack they're going to have for Fridays or tonight. It feels like a Thursday because we're doing this today. But yeah, the guys are going to have a good game plan. And it's going to be about executing that game plan. And, these guys have shown the last few Fridays that they've been able to execute a game plan when it comes to these Friday night starters. So it's going to be exciting to watch. And I think I'm hoping the trend continues that, Fridays are, good days for Gamecock hitters.
Yeah, agreed for sure. And it is worth noting that Valinkis, I believe, was in the Saturday slot in the rotation because Ryan McPherson, who has been out probably since the start, honestly, since mid-March, he's not available this weekend on the mound. So that's one less guy you have to worry about, obviously. For South Carolina, I will make a quick note of this. Bo Hollins and Jack Reynolds are out this weekend. Monty Lee did say yesterday that it's kind of like a week-to-week thing with those guys. So I know we have a few questions about Bowen here, but he has been out since the Texas series. So no sign of him out there this weekend, but we'll see what happens with him moving forward. Let's just honestly just dive right into predictions, man. I think we know Mississippi State's a really good team. They've struggled lately. They've gotten swept the last 2 weekends against Georgia and Tennessee. It feels like they're probably due to bounce back, but let's keep in mind, both those series were at home and they got swept. They haven't been on the road in a little bit, and I think there is something to your point there. I think there might be some validity to the point that maybe teams overlook South Carolina because you see the record, but I doubt Brian O'Connor is going to overlook these guys. So I'll start with you, man. What do you see happening this weekend? What is going to happen down at Founders Park?
I think we take 2 out of 3. I think this team is rolling. I think they've got a newfound confidence in themselves. I think they've been a really good game one after after the Arkansas debacle. They've been a really good Friday game one of the series team. They generally play those games tough. So I think I feel like they get the win tonight. And then with the way Ant Phillips has been throwing, and with kind of the TBA approach of, hey, we win game one, we're going to throw everything we got to win game two. We're going to find a way, and then game three we'll let the chips fall where they may. And to your point, Mississippi State hasn't been on the road in a while. I think I looked at, they've only played like 6 or 7 road games all year. Mm-hmm. Starkville, that is a long journey. That is not a exactly. It's not a quick one. They got here last night, I'm sure. And because they played on Tuesday, so it's not really the lag that Texas had when they came in. I think Texas played on a Wednesday, and then they had to fly up, and their schedule is a little more jumbled. But still, that's travel's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. Those guys hop on a bus or hop on a plane, and it takes you out of your routine. So I feel good saying I think South Carolina takes 2 out of 3 here and gets a little bit closer to making some noise, when it comes to possible, SEC tournament play and postseason stuff.
Well, the last time we did these predictions, I think you said Texas was going to sweep South Carolina, and I had that sneaky suspicion that they were going to take a game, and lo and behold, they did. I'm right there with you, man. I don't feel like it's too crazy to think that South Carolina is going to win this series this weekend. So I have the Gamecocks taking 2 out of 3 as well. I just feel a lot better about this team now than I did a month ago. We both do. And honestly, this homestand really comes at the perfect time where Mississippi State's struggling. Kentucky hasn't won a series since that opening weekend sweep against Alabama. Like it really is. This is the time to turn this thing around. I think you're going to get a good crowd out there hopefully tonight. If you're thinking about going to the ballpark or on the fence, let me tell you, I think you should head out there. Those guys deserve your support, and they're playing better baseball. I mean, what more can you ask for? Like, everyone has decided not to come to games because Paul Maneri was the coach, and now he's gone. Like, more people are showing up, but it's still not the crowds that I think this team deserves. Now that they're playing better baseball, what other excuse do you have not to get out there? I think that's what I think we're going to see a better crowd this weekend, and it needs to be that way because you have a chance to make an impact with Mississippi State coming into town. So I got the Gamecocks taking 2 of 3. I don't know how it's going to go, but I think it really does start. You have to win tonight. Yes. And then take one of the next 2. And I think this is the weekend the offense finally gets it going a little bit, more consistently. Going to get it going. Might be tough tonight. Maybe a low-scoring game. I think both pitchers are really good, but that's what you sign up for with a really good pitching matchup. So Gamecocks taking 2 out of 3 from both of us here, and we'll see if we're right, man. This would be a huge weekend to go steal 2.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't take much for me to start drinking the Kool-Aid, man, especially with these guys. And I'm excited for them. And to your point, if you're on the fence about going, get out there. It's the reason.
Beautiful weather too.
beautiful weather, and you can. And if guess what, if they go out there and start winning, you can tell all your friends we're the reason. We got the team back. You can take credit. You can pat yourselves on the back. I'm not against that as a sports fan. But yeah, man, it really does. As somebody that played in the league and played, has pitched on some of these Friday nights. Come in, in the 7th, 8th, 9th innings of some of these Friday nights. It matters. It really does. There's nothing like that energy you feel when you're coming in and you get the 2 strikes and everybody stands up and starts clapping at the end of an inning. Like it is there. It really does matter for these guys. As a former player, and like Jack said, if you're on the fence, I encourage you to go. It's not the same team. It's not the same energy. It's a lot of fun. And these nights are worth it. Friday nights in the SEC are worth it, man. There's nothing better.
Agreed. It's really, I think it's gonna have a little bit of that postseason feel to it tonight, just because the weather for sure will definitely be feeling like it's June out there. It's crazy how hot it's been. It's just maybe it's a bad omen for what's to come this summer. Maybe it'll be a complete opposite, and we'll get the coolest summer in a while here in Colorado. I would not be opposed to that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what kind of crowd it is this week. We'll see what kind of team shows up. I think, they swept Missouri, but I think they're ready to show that, they can take the next step here. They can go out here. Look, if they can beat Ruger Rojas, they can certainly beat any of these guys that they're facing. I don't think this team is scared. I think they're ready here to take that next step, and we'll ultimately see if they do. So we are going to we'll see what happens, what the chips fall where they may, and then we'll be back here next week talking about another series as the Gamecocks get ready to host Kentucky and continue this long homestand at Founders Park. So appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, for Gamecock Central, I'm Jack Veltri, as always joined by 2010 College World Series champion Ethan Carter, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you then. Bye.